Let's bring in Zachary Whitland. He is Eurasia Group analyst. Let me ask you first about that policy coming out of the Justice Department. Part of it is they say they're going to inform U.S. companies, private organizations, and individuals that they are being targeted. We were not already doing that?
I think that the policy process that needs to be in place to do so in a comprehensive manner, to do so in real time, and to set expectations for each private sector company and anyone else involved in telecommunications, social media, or systems that could be vulnerable to electoral interference are looped in the right way and know what they're supposed to be doing. And I think that is really the entire comprehensive package that Rosenstein was alluding to here yesterday.
That it's already there and he's just letting people know that it's there?
I think it needs to be built out. I think that this is a relatively new problem. I think that any systems that are in place to alert the private sector and guide them in how they're supposed to be thinking about and preparing for these attacks is relatively new, even if channels of communications might have already existed.
So do you think that we're going to be prepared in time for the midterm elections?
I am not fully confident, if you ask me honestly here. And that's because it is a huge task that involves a huge number of prongs in the actual industry. I think that actual voting systems and any electoral commissions at the state or local level, they're capable of getting prepared. I don't know how long it'll take them to do it, but it's a very slow process here. But for the entire comprehensive package of everything that is defined as electoral interference, including social media, including issues about alerting relevant actors about hacks or leaks of information or about any other attempted influence campaigns, that is something that I don't think can ever be removed entirely. And it's a matter of triaging and reducing vulnerabilities to that.
Yeah. So much has been made of the meeting that went on between Vladimir Putin and President Trump. Now we're just a couple days past it, and in Russia they broadcast videos on Thursday that display, the latest batch of missile tests that were going on this week. What do you make of that?
I think that there's a lot of signaling that's going on over here. So Russia has had for over a decade now a military modernization program. It's something that Vladimir Putin has pressed quite hard within the Russian military. And the actual weapons that were being referenced both in the past day and in March ahead of Russia's presidential elections are part of sort of a game that lets the United States know that Russia is quite concerned about the state of arms control talks. They want to renew the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, and they want to make sure that there's a robust process here. It's also kind of a veiled threat and a reminder that in their view, if the situation goes unaddressed, we could be entering a much more dangerous situation in the future.
Well, I mean, talked about veiled threats or not veiled threats. The president was happy to go right back at Vladimir Putin and what he said about what's going to happen if they don't make progress here. Here's what he had to say.
With that being said, if that doesn't work out, I'll be the worst enemy he's ever had. The worst he's ever had.
I don't want to end it on that note.
No, I think he knows that, though.
Yeah.
But I think he knows that. I'll be his worst nightmare. But I don't think it'll be that way. I actually think we'll have a good relationship.
The president says that he thinks Vladimir Putin knows that. Do you think Vladimir Putin knows that?
It's difficult to say what Vladimir Putin does and does not think. I think in this case what he would have observed is that President Trump has been the most consistent individual, not just in the United States administration, but the entire national security establishment, who is pushing for renewed diplomacy and talks with Russia and is willing to do so in a way that challenges the conventions of standing U.S. policy towards Russia.
Right, but at the same time, increasing sanctions and sending weapons to those who oppose him, and also, killing Russians on the ground in Syria. So there's all those messages, trying to reach out, but at the same time, physically being very tough, no?
This is the dynamic that makes it quite complicated to read American foreign policy towards Russia right now. And I would argue that it is not quite coherent, because at the same time that these actions that are taken, which seem clearly driven by the national security community, which President Trump has signed off on, quite often contradict his actual rhetoric when he's pressed personally on his views towards the relationship and the direction in which he would like to take it. And it's this back and forth that I think confuses, frankly, both Russia and observers within the United States.
We'll see. Zachary Whitland, thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.